acceleration. Linear speed, obviously, for base running, that's really important. How you get off the bag with no false steps, very important for both sports. So you want to make sure that in your processes of going through your work as a strength coach, you want to make sure that you're teaching some sort of mechanics, whether that's arm swing, leg drive, whether that's your stride length and stride frequency, however you want to go about it, but all of that stuff really just kind of gets really compiled because the acceleration phase is where your money's going to be. So you want to make sure that you're getting the kids off the base as quickly as possible, getting them into their form running as quickly as possible, and then making sure that your leg strength is nice and strong, because a lot of the head first dives and slides that you make are based off of your leg strength. And that was something that my head coach pointed out to me. She said, we wouldn't be able to dive and slide as well as we do if we didn't have the leg drive. And that was something that I thought I never really thought that much about, because as you're in stride, if you've got to chop your step in order to drive off your most dominant leg and you're not strong in both legs, you're going to be out because you're within tenths of a second. So that's really important. And then obviously your multi-directional speed with your fielding, all directions, lateral, linear, and rotational. And with that, that comes with your your reaction time off of the ball. And again, false steps come into play. So as you're doing your training, you want to be thinking of ways to go ahead and formulate a system where you can get kids to not take those false steps and react in the direction that the ball would be hit off the bat.
Okay, our next item we're going to talk about is reaction time. And this is specifically from a hitter's perspective. Reaction time, that's the time to determine the type of pitch, whether it's a strike or a ball, how fast the pitch is, the ball is going, and execution of the actual swing. Reaction time, we want to look at distance. All right, we'll get into the distances for softball and baseball in a little bit, but we're looking at distance, the rate of the ball speed, and then the time it takes for the ball to get there. In baseball, from the pitcher's mound to home plate, 60 feet, 6 inches. Okay? However, with a baseball pitcher, he's going to extend his arm well past his body. Depending on the height of the athlete, you're going to look at anywhere between about 53.5 feet. So that's a significant difference that's going to really play or impact your reaction time. All right? In college baseball, we're looking at high 80s, all right, low 90s. For an average pitcher. If we look at, say, baseball and specifically at a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, we got about 0.45 seconds to react to that pitch. Okay, the distance of the mounds between baseball and softball and the speed become irrelevant, and we'll kind of show you why. So you have about between 0.45 and 0.42 seconds to react to a baseball pitcher. All right, in softball, the average speed is about 60 miles an hour.
58 to 60.
58 to 60. And the pitching mound is, what's the distance?
43 feet.
43 feet. But pitcher's going to extend a little bit, depending on our height or length, about 37 feet. So we're talking about a little bit closer, a little bit more influence on reaction time. Reaction time is about 0.42 seconds. So pretty close to baseball. All right? The time for the batter to actually process the information and then to execute a motor response is about 0.4 seconds flat. So it really doesn't leave you a lot of time to actually swing the bat and do anything with it. So it's pretty similar between the two sports. Next, we're looking at is visual skills. And the only thing I really want to kind of mention on this is, we have 3: depth perception, recognition, and tracking, just to name a few. All right. There's a lot of research out there that shows a correlation between visual skills and athletic success. I personally don't do anything with any visual skill training. I'm interested in it, but due to budgets and time constraints, I really don't have time to do it. But it might be something that one of you guys might want to look into. And the research out there says it shows that it does have a good correlation to success.
To echo on the visual skills, as I was talking to, I'm fortunate to work with Mark Hill, whose wife is Jenny Dalton Hill, and she is the record holder out of Arizona for RBIs, and she held the home run record for softball until Tracey at UCLA, who I also coach, broke her record. So she said that the biggest thing on hitting with the visual skills basically just comes down to contact points on the ball, and that's something that we really don't spend a lot of time on teaching. So I think when coaches kind of get hung up on visual skills and our component to what we're supposed to do, I think it kind of gets into a little gray area as far as, are we really helping, or is it just wasted time? So grip strength and leg strength, positive relationship. Okay, so if you've got a stronger grip strength and you've got stronger leg strength, you're going to have better bat velocity, you're going to have better batted ball velocity. That was really hard to say. And the throwing velocity also is going to be increased. So, and that's just all stuff that's really simple and makes sense.
Yeah, we're going to look at some differences between sports. All right, for baseball, roster size, we have 35 athletes. All right, if you kind of take a look at some of Coach Tracey's numbers, 18 to 22. All right, we have 19 position players and 16 pitchers. All right, we also have a specialized role for our pitching staff. So within those 16 guys, everyone is going to have something a little different to do. Starters, long, short relief, closers. Where in softball, we have 2 to 4 pitchers. Okay? Usually it's one person doing most of the work. Okay? With regards to that, we could specialize not only between our position players and our pitchers for baseball, but we could specialize our training within the pitching staff. All right? So they say a starter throws on Friday night, well, you've got 6 complete days of nothing, other than obviously pitching and going to class and whatnot. But we could train him a lot harder than, say, a middle relief, short relief guy who's going to pitch maybe the midweek game as well as the Friday game. So we're going to train a little bit differently. And also for baseball, since we have 35 athletes compared to, say, 22, I could spread our workload over a bigger roster. And that really significantly impacts the players later on down the road. Right? I also work with softball at St. John's, and I can't do the same thing with our girls as I can do with the baseball team. Specifically talking about roster size and volume. Next item we have is field dimensions. You can kind of look at both as I talk over baseball. Base path in baseball, 90 feet. Pitch to mound again, 60 feet, 6 inches. The recommended distance from the NCAA manual for our right field to left field pole and our left center field and straightaway, 330, 375, 400. Significantly different than, say, softball. And that's going to really influence reaction times, okay, as far as the fielders go, and also the outcome of the game. A base hit to right field in baseball could be an out in softball. A fly ball in baseball could be a home run in softball. So the sport, within the sport, all right, can be significantly different just by the actual roster size. Moving along to equipment.
Equipment, you guys can just read it for yourselves. I'm not going to go through all of it, but a little fun fact as I was going through, and maybe you guys knew this already, but I didn't understand what core was, because I thought core of a baseball was spelled C-O-R-E. I didn't really recognize that it was an acronym for coefficient of restitution. And basically that means the bounciness of the ball on the inside. So 0.47 versus 0.55, the softball isn't quite as bouncy on the inside, so it's going to come off the bat a little bit slower than a baseball would. It's yellow with red stitching, and that's kind of cool, I guess. I think they did that for sight and visual issues, but for the most part, with the bat length and bat weight at UK, our coaches said that they use between 32 and 34 inch bats, and they usually range between the 23 to 26 ounce range. So we're not even touching the maximum of the 38 ounces.
And that goes